Monday, January 22nd, and this is The National.
Tonight, the showdown in Washington is over for now, but it has exposed deep divisions in both parties and left some asking, who is advising the president?
The family of the young bystander killed in a Vancouver shootout speaks out, while police acknowledge they're dealing with the worst gang violence in a decade.
But we begin with the CBC News exclusive and questions about fair play ahead of the Winter Games. The Pyeongchang Olympics are 18 days away. Canada's athletes are focused, working at peak. The hype around the multi-billion-dollar event has been building, but for one champion of clean competition, so has the concern. Senior Olympic Committee member Dick Pound. CBC News obtained a highly critical private letter he sent to the IOC president, who, in Pound's eyes, let Russia off easy for widespread state-sponsored doping.
The Russian Olympic Committee is suspended with immediate effect.
Russia may be banned from Olympic competition, yet clean Russian athletes can compete in Pyeongchang anyway. What could be a full Team Russia as long as they don't exactly call themselves that. Now, Pound doesn't see punishment, he sees bad precedent. Senior correspondent Susan Ormiston spoke with him in this national exclusive.
This was Russia's triumph, their best Olympics ever, ending with a pleased Putin and a proud Olympic president.
Tonight we can say Russia delivered all what it had promised.
But as we know, pride goeth before the fall, and it all unraveled as evidence was exhumed from Russian whistleblowers that Russians deliberately doped their way to the podium.
This could not have happened and continue to happen without the knowledge of and either actual or implied consent of the state authorities.
Fast forward 4 years. Pyeongchang's games are looming.
The Russian Olympic Committee is suspended with immediate effect.
There's a good start. And the farther down I got in reading the account of all of this, the more I realized that 99% of what it was dealing with was how to get the Russians back in.
Richard Pound, who's the longest-serving member of the IOC, is breaking ranks with his own organization. We spoke to him in Florida about a strongly worded letter he fired off to the IOC president. A letter leaked to us, not from Pound, which questions how Russia has gotten off so lightly.
They haven't atoned for or acknowledged or taken any steps whatsoever to guarantee that the same sort of thing won't happen again.
Dick Pound founded the World Anti-Doping Agency, so his voice carries.
I chewed on it, for a couple of weeks. This is wildly toned down from my first draft.
Give me the wild version.
No.
The IOC on Friday cleared a pool of nearly 400 Russian athletes. 80% of them, it says, did not compete in Sochi. There's no final number yet, but a couple hundred Russian athletes could go to Korea, rivaling the size of Team Sochi, which was 232.
There are clean athletes in Russia.
They must wear neutral uniforms like these and be identified only as Olympic athletes from Russia. If they win, nothing like this. No anthem, no flag, but at the end of the games, if conditions are met, the IOC could allow them to re-emerge as the Russian team.
If things go swimmingly, then at the closing ceremonies, they'll be there, full Russia, full regalia, national flag and so forth, in the same games.
To the outside world, what kind of a band does that look like?
It simply looks as if when you're dealing with the IOC, if you deny, and you happen to be a big country, just keep denying, because they'll find a way to let the athletes from your country participate.
Then there's the matter of a fine the IOC levied on Russia.
In the total sum of $15 million.
Persistent questions about whether that fine was a deal negotiated in advance between the IOC executive and Russia in exchange for lifting its suspension.
Having seen the rumors, having seen what happened, for me it looks like there had to have been a deal.
We asked the IOC for its response. We are not commenting on leaked personal correspondence. Mr. Pound will, as always, be free to voice his opinions to the IOC session. The Executive Board will continue to take into consideration all opinions, even those who are in a minority.
There will be a lot of thought and I think recrimination about the IOC having fumbled the ball. And I'd like to avoid that.
On February 25th, as Korea's Winter Olympics wraps up, if Russia makes another proud display, anything like this at the closing ceremonies, Dick Pound, for one, won't watch.
Well, I won't participate in the closing ceremony if that happens, for sure. I'm
Why?
sorry. Well, just because I feel strongly enough that we haven't done enough. Why would I go to a closing ceremony where they haven't even been allowed to participate as Russians, but now they're marching triumphantly? No. Somebody else can go, but I'm not.
Susan Ormiston joins us now. So, Susan, listening to your story and looking at this leaked letter that Dick Pound wrote, clearly he's worried about a backslide here. What's actually happening to ensure that only clean athletes are going to these games?
Well, good question. According to the IOC, they've upped drug testing since April, up 70% over last year. So there's been some 14,000 doping tests on 6,000 athletes from over 60 countries. And the Russian winter sports athletes, they've been tested more than any other countries, but 2,000 tests, double the number of other countries. So the IOC is saying clean athletes are in Russia and they're a bridge to the future, rather than erecting a wall between the IOC and Russia. Clearly, Pound disagrees.
But there's still some sanctioned athletes who aren't giving up, right? Who still want to go to the games.
Yeah, I mean, this week in Geneva, there's the Court of Arbitration for Sport examining about 40 athletes, 39, who've said, look, we're appealing our suspension, we're appealing our lifetime ban and our stripped medals. They have the right to do that. Now, the process is a bit opaque. We won't know the answers till next week. It is possible, if any of those succeed, that there may be some controversial athletes in Pyeongchang. We won't know till earliest next week.
It is the Olympics. Anything is possible. Susan Ormiston, thank you very much. The sports world right now has so many issues to deal with. Gymnastics is coping with the scandal. 3 top board members of USA Gymnastics resigned today as the team's former doctor faced emotional victim impact statements.
With my mom in the room, he would perform these treatments.
I was 16 years old. And I should have stopped this monster from hurting other girls. I hate you for what you did to me.
Larry Nassar's accusers include several top U.S. gymnasts. And some have criticized Gymnastics USA for failing to protect them. The organization said the resignations were a step towards change. And Ian, you have a major development tonight in the story that's been dominating headlines in the U.S., that government shutdown.
As you know, Adrian, the shutdown may be over, but the fight that caused it definitely is not. Democratic senators agreed to put the standoff on hold for a few weeks while Republicans pledged to work on a deal for so-called dreamers. But as Keith Bogue reports, this fight over the immigration policy has laid bare the degree of dysfunction in Washington.
We will vote today to reopen the government.
There was no way to pretty it up. Not even one full business day into the government shutdown, and Democrats threw in their cards in exchange for almost nothing from the Republicans. So the Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer did his best to make sure that his defeat would not be scored as the president's victory.
Since our meeting in the Oval Office on Friday, the president and I have not spoken, and the White House refused to engage in negotiations over the weekend. The great deal-making president sat on the sidelines.
It's been a roller coaster ride that started nearly 2 weeks ago with this.
What about a clean DACA bill now?
The president invited cameras to record his immigration horse trading with Democrats and Republicans, and yet he seemed not to understand what was going on.
I think that's what she's saying. I think she's saying something different.
At least a couple of times he left the impression he didn't much care what was in a deal.
I'm signing it. I mean, I will be signing it. I'm not going to say, oh, gee, I want this or I want that. I'll be signing it.
But his staff went to work on him. In a meeting a couple of days later, the president took a hard line and reportedly even described some immigrants in language so vulgar, it led to this scene.
Mr. President, are you a racist?
It soon dawned on Republicans that on his signature campaign issue, the president didn't seem to know what he wanted from one day to the next.
As soon as we figure out what he is for, then I would be convinced that we were not just spinning our wheels.
What has been difficult is dealing with the White House and not knowing where the president is.
The White House staff, I think, is making it very difficult.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham put a name to the problem. Trump's senior policy advisor, the 32-year-old immigration hardliner, Stephen Miller.
As long as Stephen Miller is in charge of negotiating immigration, we're going nowhere.
The White House responded to Lindsey Graham by saying he cares more about illegal immigrants than he cares about American citizens. You'd scarcely believe they're all in the same party, but it's because of internal divisions like that that the Republicans have been unable to move forward on many issues, even though they control the White House and both houses of Congress. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Washington.
And Keith mentioned Stephen Miller in his piece, an unfamiliar name perhaps to Canadians, but a man who appears to wield a lot of influence in the West Wing. Miller is one of Donald Trump's most senior and trusted aides, and a rare commodity too. He is one of the few original advisors still in the White House.
Jim, that is one of the most outrageous, insulting, ignorant, and foolish things you've ever said.
Meet Stephen Miller, political pit bull and loyal servant to Donald Trump. At 32, he's even younger than another of the president's top advisors, son-in-law Jared Kushner. But Miller has been a fixture around Capitol Hill for years. He worked for Jeff Sessions, now the U.S. Attorney General, and helped push a hard-line immigration agenda.
A refugee crisis now threatens the West.
Miller wrote the speech Trump gave to the Republican National Convention that year, and as part of the president's inner circle, he helped craft the travel ban and other controversial immigration policies.
Mr. Miller wants to restrict legal immigration at a time we have a worker shortage.
Miller is a lieutenant with a combative style towards mainstream media that mirrors his boss.
No, you can be condescending.
I'm not being condescending. I'm trying to get to the point that Steve Bannon...
You can be condescending. That was a snide remark. You're sure he's watching and he's happy. Let me tell you something.
Why is
your
that snide?
network, you can be as condescending as you want. It's part of your MO.
And with that kind of approach, Miller appears to be a man Trump will likely want to keep around. A story Trump likely does not want to keep around is the one about porn actress Stormy Daniels. Now it appears the so-called hush money she reportedly received after an alleged affair with Trump may have been illegal. According to the Wall Street Journal, Daniels was paid $130,000 by Trump's attorney in the final weeks of the campaign to keep quiet about her affair with the candidate. A government watchdog group says that money should have been reported as a campaign expense. Let's turn now to Vancouver, where the family of a teenage boy shot and killed by a stray bullet is speaking publicly for the first time.
The 15 years that we had with Alfred were far too short, but we know that Alfred is now in heaven with God. My parents and I will always love him dearly, and his death will leave a void in our hearts.
There are still a lot of questions about what happened, but it appears Alfred Wong was a bystander caught in the crossfire between drug gangs. The Vancouver police chief says it is the worst he's seen in 10 years. I was at that news conference where we learned more about the investigation and the 15-year-old victim.
Although he was taken from us much too soon, he lived his 15 years to their fullest extent.
It was a somber news conference as the Wong's family pastor and Alfred's brother spoke about their loss.
On behalf of my family, I'd like to thank everyone for giving us time and privacy to grieve for Alfred's passing. We're all still in shock that something like this could have happened to us.
Wong's parents released a statement describing him as a gentle child, and they added, "No words can express how much we'll miss him." Just 9 days ago, he was struck by a stray bullet as his family drove down this busy Vancouver street, just on their way home from dinner. Police say someone shot and killed this man, Kevin Whiteside, who had connections to criminal drug gangs. Whiteside had a gun. The police chief says he knows whose bullet struck Alfred Wong, but won't say. What the chief will say is about 100 officers have worked on this case, speaking to witnesses, scrutinizing surveillance and dashcam video. But it hasn't been enough. This past weekend, the department set up a command post at the crime scene, hoping more witnesses would come forward. But they still haven't identified a suspect. Given all these circumstances here, And given that a 15-year-old boy was an innocent victim here, is this a particularly frustrating case for you?
I think it's frustrating for everybody that's involved in this investigation because it's very rare that we see an innocent person killed, particularly, you know, a young person right in the early stages of their life. So it's heartbreaking to see this, just tragic for everybody involved.
Heartbreaking, but for many here, unsettling as well. The chief insists Vancouver remains a safe city, but concedes it's a city dealing with a surge of gun violence, shootings among criminal organizations involved in the drug trade.
We've got several groups that are at odds with one another, and they're going out killing each other.
To give you a sense of how bad the violence has been, in the past week and a half alone, that is, since Wong was killed, there have been nearly a half dozen shootings in and around Metro Vancouver.
This cycle that we're going through right now is significant. We haven't seen gang violence like this in probably the last 10 years.
That year, 2009, is being remembered as one of the deadliest in Metro Vancouver's history. Violent conflict among drug gangs spilled onto the street. In just the first 2 months of the year, police responded to more than 30 shootings.
Well, let's get serious. There is a gang war and it's brutal.
Across the Lower Mainland, the body count climbed as people were killed in their homes, in their cars, and on busy streets and in shopping centers, in part based on the rivalry between the United Nations gang and the Red Scorpions, controlled by the infamous Bacon brothers.
What we have seen are new rules of engagement for the gangsters. They're now shooting each other when they don't have to.
There were 56 murders in the region that year, Vancouver earning an international reputation as a playground for gangsters and murder city.
In terms of our international reputation, I think it's a problem, and we need to bear down and focus on dealing with it urgently.
As for the current surge in shootings, as I mentioned, Vancouver's police chief says overall the city is safe. But when asked today his advice for residents, he suggested staying away from places like restaurants and gyms where known gang members hang out.
Here's what else we're tracking tonight on The National. Protests against U.S. Vice President Mike Pence inside the Israeli parliament. We'll take you there.
Plus, bridging the gender gap with snowplows, the creative political policies that even the playing field.
And no shopping carts, no checkout lines, and no cashiers. Amazon opened the grocery store that plans to revolutionize the way you shop.
It's definitely fun to walk out without talking to anybody.
For Jackie Carr, this journey to Queen's Park is familiar and frustrating.
I do want people to get it.
It is workplace harassment and the damage it does. And Carr knows the devastating effects firsthand. Her mother, Teresa Vince, was repeatedly harassed by her boss. And then, in 1996, he shot her dead and killed himself. That kind of extreme violence may be rare, but Carr and her co-authors in a new report say workplace harassment is anything but.
We are aware of hundreds, probably thousands of cases of women going through situations exactly like the ones that are described here.
Their research looked at the experiences of 67 working women in Ontario. Their conclusions that thousands of women of all backgrounds, ages, and races are facing all kinds of harassment.
It's not just sexual, it's not just racial, it's not just in the neat little boxes that the legal system forces women to put themselves into when they go to complain.
The report says it is particularly difficult for women who don't speak English fluently.
All across the province, people are at work actually not knowing what to do if this happens to them. And when you don't speak English, you can't go around asking questions.
The researchers place a large part of the blame on the Ontario Human Rights Commission, saying it isn't always accessible. Still, the Ontario Human Rights Commission says its complaints process is serving women well, but officials say they are open to considering the report's recommendations. The researchers say the openness is cause for optimism, and they plan to push for many changes, including a new independent 1-800 number and funding for centers dedicated to harassment victims. The province says small changes, such as multilingual pamphlets in the workplace, are doable, but officials aren't promising when that could happen. Some significant change could come soon, though, on one of the report's key recommendations.
I love the quick and easy. I mean, I was in and out of there in less than 3 minutes, I think. I just grabbed what I wanted and walked out and didn't really have to talk to anybody, so.
It kind of sounds like shoplifting, but that is the business model at a new store in downtown Seattle. Grab what you need, walk away. Renee Filipponi now on Amazon's latest attempt to change the way we shop.
What would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go?
And starting today in Seattle, you can.
I walked out with these two things in a matter of 30 seconds.
It's the first Amazon Go store. The technology uses your smartphone, along with cameras and electronic sensors, to detect what you pick up.
It's really nice. It skips a lot of time and everything.
It creates a digital bill and charges your credit card when you walk out. No cashiers, no checkout lines.
It's definitely fun to walk out without talking to anybody.
The online retail giant says there are no immediate plans to open more automated stores, but it's clear Amazon wants in on the grocery business.
Amazon realizes that just being a pure online merchant is not enough. They have to have a physical presence. So I think that's part of the thinking behind Whole Foods.
The company spent nearly $17 billion purchasing Whole Foods in August, pledging to drop prices to help drive sales. And in the U.S., offering the Whole Foods products for delivery has led to a spike in online orders.
The existing retailers are not just going to sit back and let Amazon take away their market share. They're going to fight back. So it's going to be highly competitive, which might be good for the consumers.
But efficiency could lead to a very different experience, one some Toronto shoppers aren't exactly ready for.
They've been successful with all their other products, so I'm sure they'll make a dent in that, but I also want to support my local grocery stores and supermarkets.
Who doesn't like convenience? I mean, there's that whole, thing about jobs and taking away jobs.
Convenience will come at a cost as leaders in tech push the boundaries of nearly every industry. And even a simple trip to the grocery store may be unrecognizable in the future. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Toronto.
Not lining up at the checkout stand is a big shift, but consider just how much grocery shopping has changed over the past century. In 1916, it was the Piggly Wiggly in Memphis that revolutionized the grocery store. For the first time, customers were allowed to browse the shelves instead of giving a clerk behind the counter their order. Fast forward to the mid-70s, the end of price tags. Remember those? Replaced by the barcode. Cashiers scanned items, making checkout a whole lot faster.
Please scan your first item.
2 decades later, and some stores expected us to do the scanning, using self-checkout machines, cutting back on cashiers, but not necessarily increasing efficiency.
I like doing things myself when it works.
So where do we go from here? Well, what's old may be new again. How about ordering your groceries through an app, letting a clerk round them up for pickup? Sort of what grocery shopping was like before the Piggly Wiggly.
Coming up on The National, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence gets a mixed reception in the Israeli parliament.
Citizens of this
Some MPs were thrown out for protesting his speech this morning. Our Derek Stoffel met up with one of them. Plus,
how can snowplows help reduce gender inequality? Just ask the Swedes.
It snows in Sweden, and after the snow falls, the municipality plows the streets and squares so that we can get through. Women walk, cycle, and use public transport to a greater extent than men.
Well, life is a highway. It is a highway. Tom Cochran's been driving fast these days, fueled by his current #1 album, Mad Mad World. He was born in Manitoba, raised in Toronto, and Tom Cochran's been recording for 17 years. A thoughtful songwriter, Cochran's always brought a Canadian perspective to his observations. He's just finished a cross-country tour, and boy, are his arms tired. And here's something from it's the newest release from his album. It's called No Regrets.
That's appropriate. You are on fire.
There you go.
Well, you're number one. This must you must go, I don't get it. I've been putting this stuff out for 17 years, and all of a sudden, it just clicks.
I guess I'm going to have to get used to being something other than the underdog, you know, but it's real flattering, you know, it's you know, in a tough market. I've never done anything conventionally, Valerie. It's kind of like going to Yellowknife to golf, but you know, it's tough out there economically, and I really appreciate the support of the fans. And obviously we've got we're building on that, you know. So it's a bit of a shocker. You never know how a record's going to do, and you try not to think about it. You just try to write music.
You've been successful, but you haven't been successful. You haven't been number one. When you say that,
not number one in this market with Michael Jackson, Bryan Adams, and U2. You know, it's pretty.
You just happen to mention that.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
Tell me about Life is a Highway. It's such a great song, and it's such an up song, but the inspiration from it came from a trip to Ethiopia you had, which...
Yeah, well, Africa, Ethiopia, and Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. And, you know, the thing that I was left with, you know, I did a lot of press and a lot of work afterwards for World Vision, and, you know, it was really draining emotionally, but the thing that I was left with 4 weeks after coming home and that spawned the lyrics in the song, not that the song is directly about the experience, but the song is about that feeling that the people left me with, that in spite of all the hardships and in spite of how tough it got, they're tremendously resilient. The people over there are just wonderful, and the joy they find in the simple things in life when they, you know, when things are going okay and they can function, they live for the moment, you know. And you come back here and we find everything in the West to complain about and worry about, you know, and we can learn from that. So that's, you know, I wanted to write a song that would make people feel good, make them realize that, okay, you just got to be positive and move ahead and try to spread a little bit of, you know, goodwill when you can, and treat people in good faith, and things will work out, and learn from the negative experiences. So that's what, you know, kind of the song was spawned out of, and I was purging myself, I suppose, of a lot of the
Western guilt.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. I have so much food. It makes me feel awful.
But I mean, these things, you know, we deal with them. I'm not saying to ignore the problems. I think, you know, in privileged countries like Canada, we have a duty to help out. But, you know, I am saying that, you know, to be debilitated or to get sidetracked with these negative emotions, it's not productive. So.
This is dedicated to your mom and dad?
Yeah.
I always find that so sweet.
Well,
because this is, you put out, what, 20 of these?
Yeah.
Do you dedicate them all to your mom and dad, or did you just finally get around to them?
This is my 8th record.
On the National tonight, officials are still searching for 5 workers after an explosion at a drilling rig in Oklahoma. It's not clear what caused the blast. 22 people were working at the site at the time, but only 17 were found when emergency crews arrived.
I'm deeply sorry for my part of responsibility in this tragedy. I assume this responsibility now, and I will always assume it.
That is former train engineer Tom Harding speaking today about the deadly Lac-Mégantic rail disaster. Harding was acquitted last week of criminal negligence causing the deaths of 47 people. He still faces federal charges under the Railway Safety Act. His lawyer says he plans to plead guilty and that jail time is possible. Also tonight, we're keeping an eye on the Mayon volcano in the Philippines. Some incredible video from earlier today when it started spewing ash. The local volcano alert is now at its 2nd highest level. Officials say a major eruption could occur at any time.
Those are Arab members of the Israeli Knesset holding up signs and heckling the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence. And just look how security responded on them in seconds, escorting them out. As Derek Stoffel tells us, Pence's visit to the country appears to have only created deeper divisions.
It's the kind of pomp and ceremony usually reserved for visiting heads of state. But all this was for Vice President Mike Pence. A thank you from Israel after Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital last month. But not everyone rolled out the welcome mat. The man in the gray jacket is Jamal Zelhelka, one of the Arab-Israeli lawmakers who protested the vice president's speech.
Mr. Pence is persona non grata here in the region because he came here to support the right wing and to work against peace, not for peace.
With the protesters kicked out, the speech went on.
It is deeply humbling for me to stand before this vibrant democracy.
Pence then turned to the decision that has infuriated Palestinians and led to violent protests in Gaza and the West Bank. And he had a surprise.
That United States Embassy will open before the end of next year.
That time frame, moving the embassy in under 2 years, was unexpected. Some American officials said last month it could take 3, even 4 years for that to happen. This Toronto-born member of Israel's parliament says now it's time for Canada to follow the U.S. lead.
I think it is a just step and the right step, and I would love to see Canada move its embassy as well.
Prime Minister Trudeau said last month that Canada will keep its diplomatic mission in Tel Aviv. Donald Trump has his own peace plan in the works, something he calls the ultimate deal. But the Palestinians aren't interested in talking. In fact, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas snubbed the vice president today by traveling to Brussels, where he urged European leaders to recognize a Palestinian state. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Jerusalem.
There is no doubt for Israel a Donald Trump presidency is as friendly as it gets. That's not just about the plan to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. It's also about Iran. The nuclear deal initiated by the Obama administration is hated by Trump, and that works just fine for Israel.
The Iran nuclear deal is a disaster, and the United States of America will no longer certify this ill-conceived.
That is exactly what Israel wanted to hear. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu said the Trump administration is on the right side of history by opposing it. Later this week, we'll be closely watching another meeting of world leaders, Ian.
Well, Adrian, the world's rich and powerful gathering in the Swiss Alps for the World Economic Forum. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau arriving in Zurich this evening, along with several of his top cabinet ministers. The World Economic Forum is a trade show of sorts in the luxury ski resort town of Davos, where political leaders can meet and mingle with the global business elite. Trudeau and his team are there to sell Canada as a great place to invest, despite the uncertainty surrounding NAFTA. Tomorrow, he'll deliver a keynote address to the forum on the role of business and empowering women. Ensuring that women have a fair chance to succeed is a key priority for the Prime Minister, and the way the government spends your tax dollars can make a real difference. The principle behind it, called gender budgeting. And some measures are already in place here in Canada. For example, paid parental leave, child benefit checks, equal pay in the public sector, and giving tax breaks for single or working parents. But as Susan Lunn explains, at least one country has found some unique and practical ways to reduce gender inequality.
When you think of gender inequity and government spending, the snowplow likely doesn't come to mind. But it did in Sweden.
We are prioritizing the pedestrians, the cyclists, and the public transportation before the cars.
It snows in Sweden.
The Association of Swedish Municipalities put together this video to explain it better. Essentially, more women walk, bike, or use public transit. Roads, which are used mostly by men, are cleared second. It hasn't always gone smoothly.
Some think it's ridiculous because we ought to snow clear where it's needed. But this is the way to say that before we snow cleared in a way that promoted certain people before others.
The federal government isn't in charge of snow clearing in this country, so bike lanes like this are closed right now. Still, the federal finance minister is promising to have his own concrete examples of gender budgeting by the time all this snow melts.
This year we'll be coming forward with concrete measures that are going to help women to be more successful in our economy.
Some people are happy Canada is starting to look at spending and how it affects women. But this Toronto-based economist admits it isn't an easy idea, even for the bureaucrats to get their heads around.
It isn't a bean counting exercise, it's a benefit counting exercise. And that's a radical way of looking at what governments can do by spending money.
And Yelnesian says it will take money.
Part of a gender-based approach is to have better outcomes. And if you want better outcomes, you're going to have to spend a bit more.
3 inches of snow are harder to get through on foot than in a car.
Haldayan says actually the Stockholm experience is that gender-equal budgeting actually saves money. Fewer people are slipping on the snow and ending up in hospital. It's also better for the environment and people's health overall to bike and walk more.
Canadians will have to wait a little bit longer, at least until next month, to find out just how the Trudeau government will interpret gender-equal budgeting, to find out how it may improve the lives of women in this country. Susan Lund, CBC News, Ottawa.
For the past 22 years, Canada has examined the impact of every policy, piece of legislation, and program, the impact that it has on women and men. They call it gender-based analysis, but the initiative hasn't been entirely successful over the years.
The very few of the departments that perform gender-based analysis can show that the analyses are used in designing public policy.
But when the Auditor General looked at the issue again 2 years ago, he found that it hasn't improved.
The analysis conducted by departments and agencies were not always complete, nor of consistent quality. This means that gender considerations, including obstacles to the full participation of diverse groups of men and women, are not always considered in government decisions.
Since then, the Trudeau Liberals say they've beefed up training for civil servants and have placed gender equality at the center of its budget document.
Coming up, almost 4 years after her daughter's brutal killing, a grieving mother seeks healing at the National Inquiry into murdered missing women and girls.
It's like you have to tell your story so they could hear it, so this don't happen to somebody else.
We can sell our services to the world in a far easier fashion than we've ever been able to before.
Deborah Black has her own communications firm in Saskatoon. People anywhere in the world can find out about her products and services. Her firm has been on the internet since last fall. Because the technology is so new, it hasn't yet been a big moneymaker.
Well, so far the benefits are marginal at this stage, but it does place us in a very advantageous position in terms of the opportunity that presents for the future.
Every day, more private companies are getting their products on the internet.
There's a graphic here that will have our logo and the name of Cotto Books at the top.
This Regina book publishing firm is getting on the internet this week. Reg Sylvester sees the internet as a combination of a mail-order catalog and the home shopping network.
We have a special grouping of books that we've done that were written by women. We call it the Women's Work Collection, so we can click on Women's Work and see the list of books.
Cotto Books hopes being on the internet will mean new customers around the world, especially in the U.S.
If you'd really like to order it, then you can click on ordering information and you'll find our 1-800 number there. Or you can order by fax if you'd like, or by mail.
Sylvester has already discovered unexpected benefits of being on the internet.
I think that you'll find that the internet is a place where book publishers can sell international rights or American rights to other publishers in those countries. Places where publishers of multimedia projects will be able to find partners and that sort of thing. I think there's going to be a lot of business-to-business contacts as well that will be useful.
To set up an internet site, the firm spent about $3,000 for a new computer and $2,000 for a one-year hookup charge, for a total of $5,000.
I've been doing a bit of research. Some people are finding a lot of traffic on their internet site, and one publisher that I talked to said that they've sold somewhere between 0 and 1 books. So, you know, it's kind of risky. It's a little bit frightening.
Sylvester urges business people in Saskatchewan to become internet literate.
I think it's worth the effort to at least, for people in business, to at least know about the internet and to begin to understand the ways that they can use it. It's not just another advertising medium. It's a communication medium, and it helps you familiarize people with what your product is and how they can get it and how they can use it.
Matthew,
hi.
Meeting with Innovation Place yesterday.
Good.
Deborah Black says knowing the internet will be essential for business.
It is going to be the source of everything that we do. It is going to be how we order our pizza. It will be how we make our telephone calls. It will be how we do business generally.
She says the internet could benefit Saskatchewan more than other places.
It really doesn't matter where in the world you exist. So previously, for Saskatchewan, there was a real disadvantage in our physical placement in the world. Now that is no longer an issue.
You know, I lost my brother, I lost my grandpa and my granny, and I thought that was pain. But to lose your own child like that.
Louisa Lafferty is just one of 1,200 or so Indigenous women across Canada who've had to live for years, even decades, with the pain of losing a daughter, victims of murder, or simply missing, fate unknown. Tomorrow, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Women and Girls will hold its first community hearing of 2018. Nearly 600 families and survivors have already told their stories since the commission began, and 600 more are registered to do so before the inquiry's full report this November. Louisa Lafferty is among 30 witnesses set to testify in Yellowknife this week. She'll do so in private to avoid a possible impact on the appeal of her daughter's convicted killer. Ahead of that hearing on Thursday, Lafferty spoke with our Briar Stewart about her hurt, her hope, and the struggle to heal.
How am I going to accept it? How am I going to deal with it? I wouldn't want any other mother to ever go through this. The pain in your body just takes over.
In Fort Good Hope, there's only a few hours of precious light. And digging out is a necessary routine. Part of that means coming here for what has become a somber ritual for Louisa Lafferty and her family. Every weekend she comes to the cemetery to clear off her daughter's grave and take a moment to reflect. It never seems to get any easier.
I wanted to put somebody picking up somebody around the old folk duplex outside.
The old folks duplex? Who was being assaulted?
Kicking his head and everything.
This is a call made by an elder to the police on the morning of March 22nd, 2014. By the time police arrived, it was too late. A young woman had been beaten to death. And in this Dene community of just over 500, the news traveled quickly.
So then he got up and...
Lafferty heard about it from her husband.
And he woke me up. He said, something happened to somebody outside that senior citizen's home. I said, what? He said, I don't know, there's somebody laying there. It's like, oh my God. And then I went to Charlotte's room. She was right at the last room. I went there to tell her, you know, get up now. Something happened and whatever. And oh my God. My stomach just totally dropped. The twins were in there alone.
23-year-old Charlotte Lafferty was a single mother. She had recently stopped going to school because it became too much with her 2-year-old twins. Witnesses testified that she had gone out with friends and spent the night drinking at different houses. And that's where her mother started searching for her desperately.
I just went everywhere. Everywhere that I thought they would be drinking or if they would be hiding her.
Hours later, police photographs confirmed her worst fears.
All the stuff I bought her was all on those pictures. Right when I seen the shoes, I knew it was her.
Keenan McNeely was charged and convicted of first-degree murder in Charlotte's death. He was 17 at the time, but was sentenced as an adult. Court heard that Charlotte was viciously beaten with a piece of lumber, sexually assaulted, urinated on, and left to die in the snow. The murder and trial divided Fort Good Hope. Roger Plouffe witnessed that firsthand. He helps lead the Catholic mission here. He says both the victim and the convicted killer have large families, and the crime tore the tight-knit community apart.
When there is any kind of event, everybody knows about it, but when it's a violent event and when it's a sad and there's a death involved, you can actually feel the entire community. The pain is just evident in everywhere.
Plouffe says he was drawn to Fort Good Hope because of how open and friendly people are. But Charlotte's death was a brutally harsh reminder of the community's darker struggles. A monument now stands at the spot where she was killed.
What kind of impact is her death and that really violent incident having on this community?
It continues to ask the question about what violence is about and where it's coming from and how, I guess alcohol is always involved in most of these situations, so where is that coming from?
The amount of alcohol is restricted here, but bootlegging is prevalent. Drinking is seen as a source of many of the problems and also a way to deal with them.
He said that's why they cry so much.
Charlotte's grandparents have lived here for more than 7 decades. Speaking in the Slavey language, Gabriel Cochon describes the change he's seen. His son Rudolph translates.
Everybody's hurting. What happened? Everybody's saying that this community is a really big change. And there's a lot of drinking going on, and there's drugs and that in town. Everybody's drifting apart.
Grandpa's cooking chicken.
Today, Lafferty is trying to hold her family together. She frequently takes care of her grandchildren. The twin boys are too young to have memories of their mother, Charlotte, but the reminders of her are everywhere.
Over here, these are all pictures of Charlotte?
All pictures of Charlotte. There's me, her dad, when she was a baby, the doctor that delivered the twins. Some people like it thin.
Lafferty's house is almost always full, and there are plenty of meals to prepare.
We're the type of people that grew up on the land, so we need our meat and fish.
But she admits that she spent much of the past 4 years alone in her room. At times, she even considered killing herself.
I did a lot of drinking, lots. I had to kill that pain. And when I wasn't drinking, I just stayed in my room.
She now goes to see a counselor in Inuvik. It's helped, but the pain is still searing. The lingering effects of trauma can be felt throughout this community. Posters designed to uplift and inspire have been lovingly placed after a rash of violence and a suicide here.
The grief and the pain is all coming back, especially after just death after death around the community. I don't even go to the funeral services anymore. It's too painful. Like pain. So much pain, Briar, it feels like your heart's gonna explode.
On a bitterly cold night, some from the community come together to remember.
Charlotte is still trying to tell us to live life positively and to become comfortable with each other and eventually friends again, especially for those who are still feeling guilt and do not know how to overcome those feelings.
Okay, we can let it go?
Lafferty is trying to gather up her strength because she's getting ready to testify at the inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
Dominic's one. Dominic, look! Oh! It's like you have to tell your story so they could hear it, so this don't happen to somebody else.
She wants to talk about the justice system and the lack of support in smaller communities, but above all, she just wants the chance to talk about Charlotte.
When you gather like this and your family and friends come around, it uplifts you. You feel not alone.
For the community, it offers a sense of hope when the loss of the past still seems so overwhelming, and it helps to steady Lafferty as she prepares to tell her daughter's story one more time.
Yay, Dominic!
Briar Stewart, CBC News, Fort Good Hope in the Northwest Territories.
Go deeper on the stories of the day earlier in the day. Subscribe to our newsletter at cbcnews.ca/The National. The National Today takes you inside our journalism every afternoon.
So what about the do's and don'ts of tipping? Have you ever found yourself sheepishly putting pennies underneath the bill, half wondering if it's as tacky as it feels? Or what about the waitress who launches into a diatribe on the politics of veal? Now that you've lost your appetite, does she still deserve a tip? Well, Calgary restaurant critic John Gilchrist says no. He's got a few more tips on tipping to serve up as well.
When I look at tipping, I'm looking at the service right from the get-go. When I make a reservation over the phone, do they respond adequately?
Good morning, Teatro. Simone speaking.
You look for the service, how you're met at the door, where you're seated. How does the evening flow? Are you getting your water glass refilled? The bread in the basket, is it fresh? Is it warm?
Well, John, what about those pennies?
No, that is just gauche, I think.
Let's tackle something more general then. Are there any guidelines for tipping in the 90s?
If you're offered adequate service in a restaurant, people say somewhere 10, 15, 20% over and above the bill would be nice. What we're looking at there is the price before the tax is added. The people have a lot of confusion about that. Do I tip on the GST? Well, no, you don't.
And here's a trick. Double the GST on a restaurant bill and it's about 14%. Not bad as far as tipping goes, but even better, it's an easy way around the arithmetic. Okay, let's cut to the chase here. Who are the best tippers?
People on business trips, number one. People who have worked in the industry, number two. And generally younger people who are starting to make a few bucks.
And the worst?
People, shall we say, over 50. And I hate to say it, a lot of women come in for a bad rap on this, don't tend to tip terribly well.
But others say tipping is more about psychology than gender.
I find, like, if you give them too much service, like if you start chatting them up and stuff like that, the tip is less. If you give them really cold service, if you just give them the facts, you know, about the food, you know, that kind of thing, the tip's much better.
And then there are those friends who don't tip, period.
My best advice on that is don't go out with them. Let them eat by themselves, or else invite them over to your house. But yes, there are some people you just don't want to go out to restaurants with.
And how does it feel when a customer stiffs you?
Yeah, I had a huge wedding party one night. It was back when I was working in a bar, like a nightclub, but I had a wedding.
I hope that's fresh water.
It's a game of thrones in the den.
Oh, it's just gonna gross me out.
But will the dragons take the plunge?
Now we're talking.
The puns are endless.
Yeah. Dragon's Den, Thursday at 8 on CBC, presented by Canada Post.
Canada wins gold in overtime.
The Olympic Winter Games are coming to CBC, Canada's Olympic Network. Stay on top of your game with CBC Sports. Stream live events online. Get the latest news on the CBC Sports app and stay connected on social media.
I got the game on lock for sure.
These people are what? You have an example of old heads.
On the National tonight, disgraced comedian Bill Cosby returning to stage for the first time in nearly 3 years. This video taken by an NPR reporter at a jazz club in Philadelphia. The event was announced on Cosby's Facebook page just prior to his performance. His last tour in 2015 drew widespread protests after dozens of women accused him of drugging and molesting them. He's now waiting a retrial in a sexual assault case. He has pleaded not guilty. A sentencing hearing for a Manitoba man convicted of murder will go ahead after an unusual delay. The court received 96 victim impact statements connected to the killing of 17-year-old Cooper Nemeth. The judge agreed to hear 16 of them. The 2015 Canadian Victims' Bill of Rights expanded the definition of victim, which means anyone who knew Nemeth could submit a statement. The judge says it will not set a precedent. A brewing trade spat between Alberta and Saskatchewan appears to be cooling, and beer prices may have something to do with it. Saskatchewan today backing off its decision to ban vehicles with Alberta license plates from government work sites. Officials had argued that a similar thing was happening in Alberta, but officials in Alberta disagreed, filed a formal trade complaint. On Twitter today, Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall said his province decided to drop the license plate ban because Alberta signaled plans to change its beer pricing policies. An aggressive trade action south of the border is generating some anger tonight in Asia. The South Korean government says it plans to complain to the World Trade Organization after the U.S. slapped stiff tariffs on imported solar panels and washing machines. The Trump administration said the move is intended to protect American businesses, but South Korea called it excessive and regrettable and said it violates WTO rules.
Now, the world's most famous shipwreck is getting some renewed attention. The Titanic survey expedition is set to begin its exploration this spring, and if you have the money and the nerve, you might just get a spot on the underwater tour. So this is the view from the Cyclops 2, where teams of 4 will be embarking on the 90-minute descent. Crews will be collecting images and debris of the Titanic to better understand just how fast it deteriorated and then work to preserve it. This is the first time in 13 years that people will be able to directly view the wreck. So are you
in? Looking at those 2 people in that video I just saw makes me feel claustrophobic. So not a chance. What about you?
Oh, no way, no way. I'm not brave enough for that. And there's actually an awful lot of training that's required. So have a little look at this. Mission specialists, get a load of this, have to participate in a 1-day helicopter underwater training program that includes a 2-hour pool session. You have to breathe upside down underwater. You then have to evacuate the simulator. Doesn't sound good.
Whether we would do this or not, whether we wanted to, is moot, because take a look at the cost of this. $130,000 for the adventure. Now, the company says that was adjusted to match the cost of inflation, and it basically equals what it cost to be on the Titanic. We did some fact checking, and it turns out that that is true. When you look at what it costs for a first-class berth, look at inflation, do the currency exchange, it comes out to pretty well the same cost of this expedition now.
Okay, well, that settles it. Not going to happen. That is the National for January 22nd. Good night.
Good night.